Hello friends, it is time to tackle our vegetable garden. Gardening season in Alaska is short, but we do get a lot of extra hours of sunlight which makes up for the short season. Right now we are sitting at around 19 hours of sunlight every day. This year has been slow for gardening. We had record snowfalls in the winter. It took a very long time for the snow to melt, and now that it has melted, we have had abnormally cold and rainy weather. All the way to the end of May, we were still hitting 30s at night, pushing gardening season back a bit. It is now mid-June, the latest I have ever planted my garden, and we still have only a handful of days with actual sunshine and hitting above 55 degrees. We bought the plants several weeks ago and have been hardening them off in order to have them successfully go into the ground because the ground has just been too cold. But it is time to just do it or it will never happen. We got all our flowers in last week, and now it is time to tackle the actual garden, which is just about the worst weeds we've had ever. Probably because I've waited so long. We have an amazing raspberry patch, but that means that we also have baby raspberries growing up in our actual garden, so we have to get those out first and all the weeds, and then we can start planting the garden. I also have one special addition that we are adding to the garden this year, so we got to go pick that up in Anchorage. At Christmas, Mark's mom and dad gave us a gift card to Bell's Nursery in Anchorage for a very specific thing. I have not been to Bell's Nursery since I was a teenager and didn't realize what an amazing store they have. They have a gift shop full of beautiful and amazing gifts and beautiful art. These cards were incredible. These were quilled cards, so they're like three-dimensional. There were cards that were made out of leaves and I don't know, just so many fun things to look at, unique things. I love shops like this. I know a lot of you do too. So I really didn't need anything, but I couldn't help myself. I needed to take a quick look around and look at all of these beautiful things. It just kept going and going and going. And you're in a greenhouse, so there was so much light. And all these really cute Alaska bags. Oh my goodness, I just had so much fun looking around at all these fun gifts. In addition to the gift shop, this is really a plant store with some of the most beautiful greenhouses I've ever seen. The plants just went on forever and ever and ever. It is probably a good thing that this is not close to my house because I could do a lot of damage in here. Okay, I got really distracted in the greenhouse. What I need is really outside. Mark's mom, Linda, has a friend in Anchorage with a cherry tree. For the past few years, she has picked cherries and made the most delicious jam with those cherries. She was hoping that we would get one of those cherry trees and that we could have some beautiful cherries of our own one day. So I was looking around trying to find this specific cherry tree. And it took me a little while, but I did finally find it hiding in the middle. I didn't realize how many beautiful fruit trees they had here. It's tempting to start our own little orchard. Some beautiful apple trees. I don't know, we may be coming back, but here is the cherry tree that I need. It is called a Montmorency cherry tree, and they are not super sweet, but make great jams and pie fillings. The worker at Bell's helped me get the right tree I needed and bagged it up with some dirt so that I could transport it home. I am really excited to see what fruit we get in the years to come. I haven't grown a fruit tree, so I'm excited for this addition to our garden. Oh my, what a beautiful store that Bell's Nursery is. I can see why I haven't been there in years. It's dangerous, but we acquired the cherry tree.
One day when the sun went down and the jungle fires were burning, a hobo came to say, boys, I got high and I'm turning. In the old rock candy mountain, you never change your socks. And little streams of Diet Coke come a-trickling down the rocks. Okay. Let's see, where are we digging this hole? 6 years of college, 4 years of high school, and 18 years of professional work have brought me to this moment. to decide where the cherry tree goes. There. Okay, no, but really, where should it go? Let's get so much sun as it can without getting ran over by the snow machines.
After all of Mark's silliness and dramatics, this is the space, except for there is a raspberry plant growing there, so he's moving that over, transplanting it over to this area where we already have some raspberries growing. He's going to put that in the ground, and then he's actually going to use that hole he just made to plant this cherry tree. It's going to get bigger. We got to make it bigger so that all the roots can make it underground. Yep, we're just working together to make sure this is in a good place where we're not going to, snow plow it. We have to keep places where we can plow our snow in the winter, and so that is a consideration. We had a lot of considerations on where we should put it, but we think this will be a good spot, and hopefully it will grow big and strong over the next few years, and we will get some cherries. I'm really excited, and I think the bees will really love this too once it starts having buds on it.
Around these parts, one of the biggest predators to these cherry and apple trees are moose. So I'm looking to see if we have more of this kind of stuff right here. We had built this for some chickens, but we're gonna build some kind of barrier like this to keep the moose away from it, because they'll just come and eat that whole thing up. For some reason they find them irresistible. All right, the remnants of our chicken days. All right, it looks like we got some material right there. Man, this stuff grows up fast. Might have to get some more stakes. Jeez, this stuff is... I'm gonna do some trimming.
This used to be where we had chickens. We haven't had chickens for a few years. It's just gotten really expensive to feed chickens, and they don't produce in the winter, and this fencing isn't really good, and we have neighborhood dogs and bears and foxes in our yard, so you have to have a good safe place for them. One day we may get them again. Okay, we stole some water out of the boys' swimming pool. We're gonna give the tree its first water.
48 degrees in Saldovia. I'm not missing out there. It'll warm up. Thanks, Mom, for buying us this cherry tree.
It's already been a week, so that means that we need to check our beehives again. We think today is the day where we take the sugar water off the top. There should be plenty of nectar for the bees, so hopefully we'll be able to remove that sugar water topper today and do a quick hive check.
Oh, I just got stung. Another one. Okay, maybe I do need my gloves. Okay, I'm gonna go get my gloves. I just got stung twice.
Mark quickly remembered why wearing gloves is a good idea while checking the bees. We are checking these beehives to make sure that the queen is laying eggs. We are also making sure that a new queen has not been created. We are looking to see if they are making honey, if they have pollen, and if they are running out of space. If they run out of space, we need to add a new box on top. We're just really behind with the bees this year. It hasn't been sunny enough for them to get out and get the nectar. It kind of has been washed away by all the rain we've had. Our bees are doing well, but they're just not as far along as they usually are. Here we are strapping them back down. Now there's only the one box because we took off the sugar water on the top. We strapped them down so bears don't get into them. When doing bees, you can use smoke to calm down the bees. We don't find that we need to do that, but we do like to wear protective stuff. Some people do beekeeping without wearing anything other than their regular clothes. But Mark found out real quick he got stung twice on his hands because he tried to do it without his gloves. I'll be sticking with a bee suit and gloves. I feel very calm when I'm doing it in a bee suit. Everything just feels later this year. Spring, it took a long time for the snow to melt. The bees just feel behind. The fish are running later than normal. Very interesting summer we're having. Okay friends, it is finally time to tackle the weed-infested garden. I have 1 day to complete this task, and if I'm being honest, it feels very overwhelming with all of the weeds. Before we get started, you may wonder what grows well in an Alaskan garden. I am no expert when it comes to gardening. I actually consider myself a very lazy gardener because we spend much of our summer camping and at the cabin. Things like tomatoes, peppers, and pumpkins grow best in greenhouses in Alaska. But out in the garden, I have had a lot of success with peas, broccoli, cauliflower, lettuce, carrots, potatoes, zucchini, and squash. So let's tackle this mess and get the garden started. Okay, here is my plan of attack for the garden. Step 1, dig up all the stray raspberry plants. When I was at the garden store buying my veggie starts, I saw them selling raspberry canes for $15 to $20 a piece, which blew my mind. In the past, I have advertised on Facebook and let people come and dig them up for $1 each, but I don't have time for that this year, so I'm going to dig them up and then transplant them into our raspberry patch so that we're not wasting these raspberry starts. These will actually be next year's plants. They will grow up this year, and then hopefully if I transplant them, they won't be too shocked and maybe they'll give us fruit next year, if not the year after that. But they shouldn't be growing in my garden, so we got to get them out of here. That might be Mark and the boys flying away. That looks like his plane. They had to leave early because the weather is going to turn bad this afternoon and be bad for the next couple of days, so they left to go to the cabin. We will join them there in a few days. This plant here really doesn't have much to it, so I planted a bunch around it. We'll see which ones take for next year. Now I just got a bunch of dirt. Raspberries taken care of, check. After digging up all the raspberries, it was time to get up all these huge dandelions and the grass and all the weeds. And we went through tons of different weather. Again, it's windy now and raining again. We had sunshine. I just kept working. This was very tedious work, but I decided just to go section by section and try and get it as good as possible because I was feeling discouraged by how much there was to do. After I got out all the really big weeds, I asked Bennett and my niece Jocelyn to come back in and to till up the land. Sometimes we've done this with like a rototiller, but I didn't want to go rent a rototiller, so they were my help. I kept going with all the really big weeds and made sure to get the majority of the stuff, and then they came through and tilled up the garden, and I was starting to feel hopeful, having people to talk to, and it made it go faster, and I was really happy with our progress. It was a huge improvement by the time we did all this, and this is hours of footage. I know I've sped it up to like 20 times speed, but it was hours and hours to clean up all those weeds, but it feels nice to start with a clean slate and some sunshine.
If you wonder why we have this big fence around our garden, it is to keep out moose, because moose love to eat gardens. And this is a huge improvement. It is looking so much better. Good old-fashioned hard work, dug it up. Couldn't get all the weeds out of it because the chickweed is just too small, but got all the big weeds out of it, and we are gonna add some fertilizer and get ready to plant our plants.
So I went around and spread the fertilizer, and then Bennett followed me and raked it into the soil. We're just trying to give this garden the best chance possible with the cold and wet weather that we've been having this summer. Bennett and Jocelyn were interested in continuing to help, so I laid out where I wanted the lettuce, peas, and carrots and drew lines for them, and then they went to work getting all the seeds planted in this front section of the garden. I set up a trellis for the peas. We had a good time getting the seeds planted. About this time, my dad and brother got back from running some errands, and my dad was willing to help me put a fence around our new cherry tree to save it from the moose. We realized after putting all 4 stakes in that we hadn't made it big enough and that we had more fencing material, so we actually had to take them all out and move them and make them again. But we wanted to do it right and give the tree room to grow. But we are happy to say that the tree is now hopefully protected from any moose that would want to come and munch on it. There's so many trees around here. You would think that they would avoid this tree, but there's just something about a fresh new baby tree that moose cannot resist.
Right, hopefully this is moose protected.
The next step for the garden was to put down landscape fabric. I found this over in the shed. This is the route we're going to go this year to try and keep the weeds at bay. I am pretty good at compartmentalizing in my brain, so I was able to put this garden off, and I knew I had one day to get it done before we had church the next day, and then we were heading off to the cabin. So Bennett and I are really just pushing through and giving the garden our best effort today to hopefully have some veggies growing at the end of the summer. Some years I start my vegetables on my own from seeds in the house in the spring. This year we were just too busy in the spring, so I did buy these from a local company, and I am laying them out so that Bennett can know where to come and put the plants. He's going to come through with a blowtorch and just make a hole wherever there is a plant so that we can plant them. Then we will dig them up and get everything in the ground. We're trying to get them spaced out nicely and fill this garden full of veggies. At this point, we had been working in the garden pretty much all day. I have my hood up because the mosquitoes were getting really, really bad, but we were getting so close to being done planting these last few cabbages, broccoli, and cauliflower over here in this corner, trying to avoid getting eaten alive. But our hard work was paying off, and we were seeing the results as we finished planting the garden. Such a good feeling.
All right, we did it, and it looks really good. This pretty much took me all day. So grateful for Bennett's help and my niece Jocelyn. I don't think I would have been able to finish it without their help, especially Bennett. He has been so helpful. So I'm gonna give you a tour of the garden. So we didn't have enough landscape fabric to cover this section, which is okay. We have some cabbages over here. Then we have squash and a couple broccoli. Then we have celery and a few more broccoli and cauliflower. I thought I had the perfect number of plants. When I went to go plant the cauliflower and a couple of the cabbages, there were 2 plants per cell. So instead of having like the 12 plants I thought I had more like 20 plants. So I may have planted things a little bit too close because I didn't want to get rid of them. I wanted to give them a home. So hopefully they do okay. Who knows with the weather we're having this year what will actually take and grow. So better safe than sorry. We probably overplanted, but it's because there were extras. So in this corner over here we have purple cabbages. Then we have our cauliflower section, which is the ones that had two things per cell. So we got a lot of cauliflower. And then over here we have some more broccoli, and then we have green cabbages. These are all things that I have grown successfully in Alaska before. It's looking really good. We did put down the landscape fabric for all of these. We did not do it over here because we have small seeds that we're trying to grow. I have a hard time doing the landscape fabric and figuring out how to do that with the seeds. So we actually have 3 rows of carrots here this year, 2 rows of lettuce, and then we did a little trellis here, and then we put pea plants on both sides as well as pea plants along this, hopefully to trellis up there. I've never done it that way before, but we're gonna try it. And then I did actually put a few pea plants along here as well, just to use them up. We'll see. The neighbor's dog is going crazy. I wonder if there's a moose in the woods or something. We don't usually hear the neighbor's dog. It's hard to believe this was just like a weed infested garden this morning. We're gonna give everything a good little water before we call it a night. This turned into the most pleasant afternoon. The sun came out. You know, we're planting this garden several weeks later than we usually do, but this is the weather that it usually is when I plant the garden. So I feel like we're right on time. You may wonder why our garden gate doesn't close anymore. We have frost heaving in Alaska, and unfortunately we didn't dig our post holes quite deep enough, so the door does not latch anymore because this post has come up. Frost heaving is when the ground thaws and freezes. It pushes things around, so we just use a bungee cord. And then sometimes we'll come out here and all of a sudden it will close. It's just like it has a mind of its own. But
when I did it, I didn't do that. I was mashing the ice.
because I like them to be mixed up with the ice.
So here I am making myself like a virgin mojito type drink. I picked some mint from the garden, then there's this margarita mix from Costco, some lemon lime seltzer water. Just figured a nice little drink would be a great way to end this busy day working in the garden.
Whew, now that I sit down, I realize how exhausted I am. That was a long day of taking care of the garden, but I'm so glad that it's done, and it feels like the right time to do it. It finally feels like summer. It finally feels like gardening weather. Today was the perfect day to get the garden in. I'm glad to have the cherry tree in the ground and protected from moose. The bees are doing well. They're just a little bit behind as well, like everything else, because it hasn't been super nice out, but the bees are doing well. We found both the queens. Garden's in. Mark and 3 of the boys made it safely to the cabin. We will be following them down there here really soon. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. We are so grateful for each and every one of you, and make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any follow-up videos on the garden and all our summer adventures. We love you, and we'll see you again real soon for more of This Alaska Life. Whew. It's 8:30 at night, and it feels like 2 in the afternoon. It's so sunny.
It's sunnier now than it was at 2 afternoon.
Yep. The mosquitoes are worse too, though. Lots of mosquitoes.
I bet I got one. I bet I got one, even though I clapped. Killed one. No, another. Killed one.
My relaxing moment on the deck got...
Oh, cha-cha band. Cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha TV.